And I don't know what's broken in the Washington press corps, that none of that moves them emotionally. The only thing that gets them exercised is, do we need to have more trials for terrorist supporters? Do we need to have more trials for gangbangers? Do we need to have more trials for illegal alien invaders? Even though Congress and the Constitution clearly say that you can expel invaders and illegal aliens quickly, efficiently, and properly. This president has literally saved America, and I could not be prouder. I could not be prouder, as I know Caroline feels the same way, to come every single day to this building where we have a leader sitting in that office whose first, last, and every thought is the safety, prosperity, security, and sovereignty of the citizens. That's an important word, people. Citizens of this republic. Thank you all.
So 24 hours after yesterday's horrific and tragic attack in Boulder, Colorado, we now have full confirmation that the perpetrator, Mr. Mohamad Soliman, was indeed an illegal alien, right? He was a visa overstay who entered this country under Joe Biden era immigration policies. He was allowed to stay, yet still he overstayed his second visa, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, that makes him what? Illegally in our country at the time of this attack. And by the way, it is worth noting that the vast majority of illegal aliens in our country, at least before Joe Biden just opened the borders entirely, were visa overstays, right? This is something that is very common. It is, of course, worth noting. Democrats constantly argue that, for instance, to actually enforce visas and deport people who abused our immigration system to stay here permanently and illegally, that is unjustly cruel, right? That is excessive. No need to do that. Let's have some compassion. And yet in this case, you once again see the unfortunate and tragic reality of what happens when you let this blind, naive sense of leftist compassion cloud the actual enforcement of necessary U.S. immigration policies. And yet, despite what we saw in the past 24 hours, again, an illegal alien carried out this attack, it should be a pretty straightforward statement at the very least. Hey, maybe 1%. Hey, Democrats, can I ask you this question? Is it perhaps possible that just 1% of what Trump is doing on deportations might actually be smart, might actually be correct? As a matter of fact, Democrats are indeed not saying that. Instead, you can't even make this up. In response to yesterday's attack in Boulder, Colorado, I will reiterate, perpetrated by an illegal alien who came here under Joe Biden, Democrats are doing what? Doubling down on their war against Trump's necessary and correct immigration policies. And we're going to tell you about all of these new details coming out here today, as well as the insane and ridiculous Democrat denial about the situation. You even have some Democrats like Jamie Raskin now going out and blaming gun laws. You know, not even making this up. They're calling for gun control, despite the fact that the attacker did not use a gun, right? It was a Molotov cocktail. He made it makeshift out of like grocery store supplies, but no, apparently guns are to blame, right? Not the open border, not any. So we'll tell you all about it. First though, folks, do us a big favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe if you are new. Subscribing to the channel is the best way to support these videos. And let's continue our push very close here to 500,000 subscribers. And with that said, I first of all want to start this video with the full confirmation now on who this perpetrator, who this attacker was. So as you can see from the New York Post, okay, it is now confirmed. Mr. Mohamad Soliman arrived from Egypt to the U.S. in August 2022. Obviously, we know who is president in August 2022 on a tourist visa that permitted him to stay in the country until February of 2023. He then filed for work authorization that granted him legal status until March 28th of this year, meaning he was in the country illegally for 2 months. So already a number of red flags are raised in this situation. You, of course, have the fact that he came here on a tourist visa and then stays in the country indefinitely, then does what? Applies for a work authorization. You know what that is? That is a very common abuse, of course, of our immigration system. Again, pre-Joe Biden, and the fact that you could just walk across the border. This used to be the most common way that people would illegally immigrate. Come here, stating you're here for tourism, you're going to go back home, and then you're like, it just so happens I found a job 6 months into the situation. Yeah, we know exactly, right, what is going on here. But again, already, so that's an abuse, first of all. But secondly, he filed for work authorization in March, right, meaning that he was in the country illegally for 2 months. So already, right, there's so many red flags. He comes here on tourism. He's asking to work. He's asking to stay here longer. Again, common abuse there. But on top of that, doesn't even do it correctly, right? He's there in the country illegal for 2 months. And what does Joe Biden do? Grants him that work authorization, basically allows this guy to commit immigration fraud, which is a common trend that we saw, of course, under the Biden administration, which is basically anyone who was coming into this country was being granted things like temporary protective status and, work authorization and all this stuff. So I don't think it's a coincidence. Oh, that's just normal work authorization. No, it is worth noting, of course, Biden made all of these rules significantly less stringent in terms of, any reason to stay here long term in the United States. Now, according to a federal complaint, as you know, he threw 2 Molotov cocktails at the Israel event the other day. But here is where it, of course, goes on. The suspect added that he had researched how to make Molotov cocktails on YouTube and had been planning Sunday's attack for an entire year, but had waited until after his daughter had graduated to put the plan into motion. Yeah, absolute sick individual here. But once again, I'm sure, this is exactly, by the way, fitting the profile of the exact type of person that Democrats would go out and defend, okay? Imagine the situation, right? This is very real. This is not hypothetical. I mean, it is, but it's also not, right? Imagine the situation right now where just 2 days, let's say, before he was about to carry out this attack, he got deported. What would probably be happening? You'd probably have, for instance, Colorado Senator Michael Bennet flying all the way to Egypt or El Salvador, if that's where they send him, saying, I am advocating on the rights of this guy. There's no proof he was a terrorist, blah, blah, blah. He didn't get due process. And that's not hypothetical because the Democrats have already done that, right? What do they do with Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia? That's their hero, by the way. They crown this guy as the big jewel of the party, right? 2026, this is all what we're fighting for. People like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That is, of course, a guy who was alleged by multiple legal filings and police reports to be a confirmed member of MS-13, right? Remember that? But they said, oh, there's not enough proof. He didn't get due process. Look, he has a family. Turns out this guy had a family as well. You know what you do? Okay, when someone is in this country illegally, Democrats, I know this is hard for you to understand. Number one, they're here illegally. They don't have to be a public safety threat to be removed, okay? But secondly, especially in the case where you have a suspicion and you already know they're here illegally, I don't know, maybe your party that got crushed in the November election, that has a 27% approval rating, maybe you should stop dying on the political hill of terrorists and violent criminals. Is that maybe an idea? No. Let's not entertain that, right? No, let's go have more margaritas. Hey, Democrats, are you going to be going to the maximum security prison in Colorado and having a margarita with this guy as well? You say, oh, Vince, you're being facetious. No, I'm really not. Because we already saw this happen before. This is the tragic consequence of what takes place when the logical consequence of having open borders. Guess what happens? This is what happens, right? This, to me, total proof, right? What Trump is trying to do with deportations is saving lives. And of course, people might point, as you see already, right? Democrats are saying things like this. They're saying, BS. He was here on a work permit that expired in March of this year. Why didn't Trump deport him then? They're saying Trump is to blame because he did not deport this guy. It's like, okay, first of all, question, guys, why didn't Joe Biden deport this guy? He was here illegally in the country for 2 months. Oh, that's right. Open border policies. But secondly here, right? I don't know. Perhaps deportations could be happening faster and more efficiently if you guys were not trying to sue and block every single one of them with a lawsuit. We're actually trying to deport violent criminals and terrorists right now. What are Democrats doing? They are blocking it. They're saying temporary injunction. They're taking it to the courts, Secondly, I think it's an undeniable fact. Joe Biden would not deport this guy, considering he renewed his ability to stay already when he was here illegally, So yes, are we saying that, in every case, right, mass deportations, like nobody's going to slip through the cracks? Of course not. But the overall point is vindicated in terms of what? In terms of trying to remove public safety threats from the community, as Tom Homan so often brings up. That is a fundamentally good intention, okay? And again, you also have to ask the question, how many potential crimes and terrorist attacks have already been prevented by the fact that Trump has deported them, and how many Democrat senators have flown to El Salvador to advocate on the behalf of the people who potentially may have done these types of things? Just saying. But as you can see, going on here, Soliman was arrested and charged Monday with committing a federal hate crime. He also faces state charges, including first-degree attempted murder. But of course, right, I'm sure that, Democrats will be immediately going to rally for this guy's rights, as they do for violent criminals in general. Now, with that said, apparently even new details have come out. Not only, ladies and gentlemen, okay, this story just gets so wow, this is what our country allowed to happen. Not only did Mohamad Soliman stay here illegally, they also found, for some odd reason, we're not exactly sure at the moment, but USAID paperwork was found in his car. Take a listen for yourself. So paperwork with the word USAID was found in the car of Mohamad Soliman, who is, of course, the suspect here. According to the arrest affidavit, law enforcement officials found paperwork with the words USAID inside Soliman's 2015 Toyota Prius. Other paperwork with the words Israel and Palestine was also allegedly found inside, in addition to a red gas container and rags. Now, a senior State Department official told Fox News Digital that Soliman is not a USAID employee, but Soliman allegedly, obviously, told law enforcement officials he had targeted a Zionist group, etc. So this, of course, right, begs the question, what was that doing in there? Okay, because as you can see, according to the document, he left messages to his family, a journal, and an iPhone, etc. So, people will have certain theories about this. I'm not going to go out and say that I think USAID was sponsoring this from its, non-existent state now or anything. But I think what it does go to show, maybe potentially why that could have been there, is yes, many government organizations like USAID were, of course, doing what? Sponsoring the open borders agenda, mass migration, all of these things, and potentially even the, radicalization or resentment towards people in this country being driven by, towards migrants to basically do things. I don't know, who knows, right? But again, the whole story here just this is a thing you look at, you're like, you can't even make this up. Not only is he an illegal alien, not only is he a visa overstay because of Joe Biden handing out work authorization and temporary protective status and amnesty to everyone, but on top of that, for some reason, there's USAID stuff in his car. I mean, who knows what's even going on there? So again, this is what we are dealing with. And in response to it, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this. Do you exactly think the Democrats are maybe reflecting, introspecting, maybe thinking, hey, our open borders agenda needs to be reevaluated, to say the very least? No, in fact, they are defiantly still going out and making it clearly known to the world, no, their party opposes the entirety of Trump's immigration agenda. They will continue to protest ICE. They will continue to sue and protest and block against the mass deportation of illegal aliens. As you can see, was tweeted out today, done at an event by Ayanna Presley, okay? She went out 24 hours, guys, after the Boulder attack. You would think maybe at least stay quiet for a little bit, let things simmer down. No, this is a statement she is making. Quote, "We will not stand by while Trump and ICE terrorize our communities and carry out their cruel, unlawful mass deportation agenda." Again, this is 24 hours after the attack. "Today, I convened advocates, impacted families, and local leaders to tell them loud and clear, hands off our immigrant neighbors." That is what the Democrats have to say. Yeah, you cannot make that up at all whatsoever. Now, Donald Trump obviously has a different response to this. He is going out and saying, quote, "Yesterday's horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America." He came in, yes, correctly here, through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. And once again, right, despite what we saw yesterday, despite, that's not the only factor, by the way. Look at the election. I don't know. Look at many things, okay? Democrats not only refuse to admit that Trump is doing anything, even 1% right on immigration, but also on top of that, right, they still refuse to admit nowadays that Biden's border policy was actually a problem, right? Just deflecting. Again, that's what Ayanna Presley is doing. 24 hours later. I'm going to reiterate that. Anyways, he goes on to say here, he must go out under Trump policy. Yes, the Trump policy, if Democrats would get out of the way and stop suing and stop trying to make this as slow and difficult as possible, if they, by the way, would also stop encouraging violence and threats against ICE officials, which I should note was even discussed today, then maybe, I don't know, things would be different. Take a listen, actually. This is an important fact.
Why they wear masks?
I'm going to answer the mask question. So, no, not the mask, the mask. So, a lot of agencies were invited to come out 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles where we ran an operation where ICE officers were doxxed. So let's just say that again. People are out there taking photos of the names, their faces, and posting them online with death threats to their family and themselves. So I'm sorry if people are offended by them wearing masks, but I'm not going to let my officers and agents go out there and put their lives on the line and their family on the line because people don't like what immigration enforcement is. They are wearing those masks because we ran an operation with the Secret Service where we arrested someone that was going online, taking their photos, posting their families, their kids' Instagram, their kids' Facebooks, and targeting them. So let me ask, is that the issue here, that we're just upset about the masks? Or is anyone upset with the fact that ICE officers' families were labeled terrorists?
We know the answer to that question. We 100% know. Democrats are fostering this political environment on purpose, okay? And the excuse is basically, oh, they deserve it. Look at what do you think happens when you victimize people, right? All these ridiculous excuses. And then meanwhile, what's happening here in the real world, right? So I just want to make it clear. Not only do Democrats not condemn this as a party, they actively encourage it. Okay, this is being celebrated. And even have their propagandists in the media saying, why do law enforcement have to wear a mask? Why do they have to cover their faces? And then completely ignoring what's going on. Where's the media reporting on that, by the way? On the fact that activists are trying to intimidate and send death threats and encourage violence against ICE. Nowhere to be found, of course. Going on here, though, from Trump's statement, acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. My heart goes out to the victims of this terrible tragedy and the great people of Boulder, Colorado, of course. Now, here's where it gets even more ridiculous. It's not only are Democrats refusing to introspect, refusing to admit, hey, maybe there's a part that's true here, refusing to admit he was even an illegal alien to begin with, I don't know. But you even have, guys, Democrats like Representative Jamie Raskin, in a total deflection, they're now going out and doing what? Blaming this entire thing on a lack of gun control. That is right, okay? This absolute buffoon, reminder here, in a case where the guy didn't use any firearms. He used a homemade Molotov cocktail. I don't know what Jamie Raskin thinks. Like this is the gun store in GTA and you can go buy Molotov cocktails at the ammunition. But that's not how this works, okay? He made it at home. Take a listen here, okay? This, again, not talking about deportations, not talking about even ideology if you want to do that. This is apparently the Democrat response to the Boulder attack. That's right. These people are so shameless, insanely ridiculous.
Across the country, we are still in the midst of a gun violence epidemic. So we need to be acting with due concern for human life. This is why, of course, we have been fighting for a universal violent criminal background check. We are for a ban on military-style assault weapons in the country. Our lax gun laws are a danger to everybody. in America, and that's something that we can act with some legislative determination to turn around. But people have got to lead their lives, and people need to act with courage, but it is the responsibility of government to try to keep everybody safe from random arbitrary violence and bigotry and hate motivated crimes.
Is he just an AI, right? No matter what, Democrats, anytime something bad happens, call for gun control. That would be like for us, if you had an attack that's carried out by a U.S. citizen or something, native-born U.S. citizen, let's say white male, okay? We respond to it by calling for mass deportations of illegals, and we're like, what are you even talking about? Not only was a gun, of course, not used in this situation, which he is apparently lauding as the solution, but it's also worth noting here, by the way, that according to federal officials, not only did he not use a gun, he had previously tried to purchase a firearm. He was denied. He was not able to. So the supposed gun control literally worked already, okay? Democrats inventing a fake crisis here. It worked, okay? He resorted to using Molotov cocktails when he could not purchase a gun because he, guess what, was not a legal citizen. Yeah, gee. It's almost like this is not a case having to do with gun control, but take a listen.
And when he was interviewed about the attack, he said he wanted them all to die. He had no regrets, and he would go back and do it again. He said that he had previously tried to purchase a firearm, but resorted to the Molotov cocktails when he could not purchase a gun because he was not a legal citizen.
Yeah, but surely guns are the problem. We need more gun control. I mean, maybe there's a fair point to be had in there, considering the fact that if Joe Biden and the Democrats truly had their way, Mohamad Soliman would already be a U.S. citizen. Okay, they would like to hand out citizenship to basically anyone who wants it. So maybe I understand what Jamie Raskin is saying, I guess, in that regard. But no, in all seriousness here, what you're going to see is a lot of different bad actors basically try to deflect and distract from the very obvious. The very obvious is what? This guy was illegally in our country. It's been a big source of contention. We should do mass deportations. Hey, we've had this open border policy. There's probably a lot of dangerous people let into the country. Actually, not probably, we know that, right? We've identified and known the fact that this has been happening. And, you can't stop every act of random violence, obviously, but to the extent that you can, yeah, when people are illegally in the country, they probably just shouldn't be here, right? And so the effort to deport, largely, not, obviously all illegal aliens are subject to deportation, but largely the priority is what? Public safety threats, gang members, and all that stuff. It should go on unimpeded, right? It should be largely supported. It should be seen as a good thing. That should be it, right? That should be the primary takeaway, mass deportations. But of course, again, as I said, you're going to see a lot of people try to spin it for a ridiculous reason. So Democrats are going to go out and say that, see, this is proof we need gun control. And establishment politicians between the neocons in the Republican Party and the kind of establishment of the Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer even going out saying this today, they're basically going to use this as more proof that, look, we need more war in the Middle East. See, this is why, right? So they're going to use that, right, to abuse, again, completely ignoring the obvious. This is not about even the war going on in Israel. I don't see it that way, right? Yes, you could talk about, hatred, hey, the divisiveness of the topic, whatever. No, to me, it's actually a lot more simple than that. This guy shouldn't have been in our country. He's here now, right? He tried to basically fight the war on foreign soil. And guess what? He shouldn't be here right now. He should have been on foreign soil the entire time. It's that simple. It's that easy, But, again, people are going to spin this how they want and ignore the completely obvious, right? Sometimes in life, the most simple solution is the best one, Just a thought. All right, with that said, though, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.